Okay, I think we are live. Hello, Faith. How are you?
Hello, I'm very good, thank you. How are
I think
you?
we've got 13 people joining. We should have 50 plus. So we'll just give it a second or two. People can join or later. But first of all, for everyone who's already here, welcome to this Story Punk webinar. I'm Paul Cash. I'm your host today. And I'm genuinely delighted to be joined by the brilliant, the unstoppable, the how does she do it all, Faith Wheller, who is VP of Global Marketing at TeamViewer. Just to be transparent, Faith and I work together. She kindly sent me an email a couple of years ago regarding this book that we wrote, and we kind of connected over that, a kind of a shared passion for humanizing B2B marketing, particularly the tech space. But Faith has had a bit of a storied career. Faith, I'm going to embarrass you a little bit now, 20 plus years, starting life in the dirty part of channel marketing at Westcon, moving over to BT, then a 12-year stint at Cisco, working across brand and demand programs, a little foray into business accounting software with Intuit, and then in 2022, landing at a TeamViewer, which is a German software business. I know you're super passionate about creativity, about storytelling, about female empowerment through sport.
Yeah.
And today is a platform to kind of just talk about your story, your career, but in more recent times as well, the kind of work you've been doing with TeamViewer. You're probably one of the rare people who has had such an interesting career involving pretty much all types of activation in B2B, but obviously sponsorship has been the main feature of that. So hello, Faith. Maybe
Hello.
you want to just say a little bit about yourself and a bit about
Yeah.
TeamViewer.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Paul. It's an absolute pleasure to be here this evening, and I know that you have a global audience. So also good morning to everyone. I have to say you're very good at marketing your marketing because you mentioned the book there. And actually, I'd seen you around quite a lot on LinkedIn, as people do. You're not shy on LinkedIn. And I think you were quite persistent in, educating and connecting and inviting me to things. And I think that's, it definitely paid off. And, I was very passionate about your sort of ethos around humanizing B2B. And I guess that's why we work together. So probably going to talk a little bit about that today. So like Paul said, I've 20 years, 25 years maybe, I don't like to count anymore, in IT and telco. Currently VP at TeamViewer. So we're a German software company. We are in fact celebrating our 20-year birthday this month, which is incredible, which is really, really great. And I think people probably know us from a app icon they may see on their desktop, a blue arrow, which sort of offers remote connectivity, remote control, remote support to IT professionals to enable people to connect into devices. But actually, we're much bigger than that. We like to say that we're a digital workplace company. We connect IT and OT, so operational technology. So it's not just, connecting computers and devices. We do much, much more than that. And the company's evolved and exploded over the last 20 years, which has been great. We IPO'd in 2019. Just before COVID. And I think COVID obviously I guess it was a blessing and an opportunity for us, because if you think about the need for, people being able to connect into devices and requiring IT support to access their machines and, upload software and things like that. The time of COVID when you couldn't travel was the time that you needed TeamViewer more than ever. And I think that time during COVID gave us an opportunity to discover more use cases that we may not have even thought about before we IPO'd. So, for example, like I say, people couldn't travel, but if you had, machinery, or if you had expertise in different countries, being able to access remotely devices to connect to machines and bring experts together remotely was just such a unique proposition for TeamViewer. and really helped us catapult from being a free user SaaS software. So we still very much support free users who need to connect into devices for free use. But we catapulted all the way up into enterprise, and now we're working with some of the biggest brands that you know of. We're working with huge strategic partners: Siemens, SAP, ServiceNow, Microsoft, and we truly are a big global player.
Right, that's brilliant. I think the theme of today's conversation is exactly that. How do you take a German software company, even one that's got a 25-year history, and make it famous on a global stage? And I think to answer that question, most notably, there's been some bold decisions made by the TeamViewer leadership team around shirt sponsorship of Manchester United Football Club, again, a global property, partnering with Mercedes AMG Petronas Formula One team, again, two significant sponsorships. And when we were doing some research and looking at your backstory, this wasn't your first F1 rodeo. I think 20 years ago you had a famously eccentric Irish CEO who wanted to do something with the Ericsson brand at that time and go big with the Jordan F1 sponsorship team. So maybe let's start here. What happened back then? How has that maybe shaped your experience around sponsorship? And as you mentioned, that pandemic moment for TeamViewer to make some bold decisions about those two sponsorship activations. Maybe just talk us about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So exactly like you say. So when I was 21, 22, I was working for Ericsson. I was working for the B2B arm of Ericsson, and we got sold off to private equity. And we became a sort of a much smaller organization, but with global reach. And we had a new CEO, an Irish CEO, Piers Flynn, come in, and who one day he was like, "We're going to sponsor a Formula One team. We're gonna be we had the wing of the Jordan Formula One racing team, and everyone was like, "Oh wow, yeah, amazing." And then it was like, well, who's going to do it? Who's going to run the sports partnership? Has anyone ever done this before? And there was silence in the room. And I was doing events at the time. Like I say, I was very early on in my career, and it was like, Faith, you can do it. You do events. You can run the sponsorship program. So I think that was my first dip into, I had an absolutely wonderful early career flying around the world and in business class, should I had at 22, which I just thought was amazing. My friends were so jealous. I was, creating these F1 experiences in Monaco on Eddie Jordan's yacht, flying in
all
on
been downhill since then.
flying in on helicopter, and all my friends were just coming back in from clubbing. It was incredible experience, which lasted a couple of years. And to be honest, anyone that works in F1 knows it's quite exhausting traveling to all of those races all the time, and traveling the world and missing a lot of birthdays and everything. So I was quite glad when the partnership sort of came to a natural end. And then, like you say, it was very ironic when I was approached for this role at TeamViewer, with them not knowing that I had actually worked in F1 before. It was a pure coincidence. I don't actually even have it on my CV. And they said, we sponsor Manchester United and Mercedes, and we'd love for you to lead the brand and the sports partnerships team. So, it felt like a full 360 20 years later, which was really, really exciting.
Yeah, but tell us about that. Obviously, Oliver, made a bold decision as you normally think it's the big blue chip enterprise brands that take these moves into Formula One, but obviously from a smaller, medium-sized business point of view, using this as a platform to get you onto that global stage is no insignificant investment and takes a lot of faith and balls, to be honest. So what was the kind of the backstory to that? And obviously doing both Man United and Mercedes F1 at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think COVID brought us an opportunity to truly go even further globally. And I wasn't around at the time, so I can't sort of dig into the details, but the decision was made that we were going to use two of the biggest sporting properties in the world. I mean, if you think about Manchester United and the reach that it's got, 2 billion plus fans, recognizable in every single country as being, one of the world's leading football teams, with some fantastic players as well. And with a huge SMB reach. So if you think about the number of fans, and within those fans there must be those decision makers that we can influence from a business perspective, but from a free user base, which anyone can use, of course you've got that huge addressable audience. So Manchester United was definitely about reach. It was about getting into SMB and then also getting into APAC as well. So Manchester United is huge there, as you know. So the agreement was done. We were front of the shirt. I've actually got a picture of I'll share some slides. Always technical things, but hopefully you see the slides.
Yes, there we go.
Can you see? I'm putting it in
Click
screen
on share presentation.
Yeah. Do you see?
You need to go to use slideshow.
Yeah. We did have a little practice of this earlier, didn't we?
We did, and it worked perfectly, of course.
Yeah.
At the top there, use slideshow.
That one there.
At the top of your screen says use slideshow, the fourth icon along. There you go.
There we go. It's gone blank.
Yeah.
Yay. You see that?
There you go. Yeah. So quite a proud moment for everybody internally, I'm pretty sure. Although, I'm not sure what your split is of UK employees versus German versus others. But as you say, to have Ronaldo standing there with a TeamViewer logo on his Man United shirt, that's quite a big thing for everyone to feel like, we're making moves in terms of our overall presence as a brand.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. I mean, having your logo and your brand on the front of the shirt by, one of the world's most famous, iconic footballers is, a very proud moment. So, I mean, that was the Manchester United partnership. And like I say, it was very much aimed at sort of those free SMB users, but also helping us scale much more broadly and giving us that global scale for reach. But like you say, we also partner right now with Mercedes Formula One team, and whereas like I say, Manchester United with the SMB, Mercedes really gave us that elite edge that positioned us much more in the enterprise space. And as you can see, the logo on the car is very iconic because it's with so many other brands that are so much bigger than us. And when I go and talk with people at the races and our customers that are there, they actually think that we're a US brand because of the size of the other organizations that sit around us, not just on the Mercedes car, but also on the other teams as well. So, TeamViewer has really given us that sort of elite edge, much more in that enterprise space, making, positioning us much larger than we are. Because, like I say, we do work with really big enterprise companies and strategic partners. But what's been, really, really important with partnering with Mercedes is because you think about, the F1, the technology, the innovation, the data, and the insights that we can help, work on with the team. So we will have our data that will then connect back. So if the data and everything is in the factory in Brackley on race days, that data is then getting transmitted to the track and the team, meaning they don't need so many data analysts and people flying out to every single race. We've just launched a new use case around technology and development using AR in the factory. So that's been absolutely fantastic. And again, very much innovation, saving the team money. And there's more and more use cases that we are putting within the garage itself, or in Brackley in the factory, things like the pit walls. So that's been a real benefit of the partnership, because we can really tell those use cases, we can tie it back to our own technology, and then we can invite customers to hear how we are partnering with Mercedes on these use cases, which they can also see the benefit of themselves. So a really successful partnership for us.
Yeah, and behind the scenes, Faith, obviously this is a German brand, Mercedes, obviously a relationship with Oliver, your CEO, with Toto Wolff, who obviously is the head of the Mercedes team. And then you had a poster boy of Mercedes and F1, which was Lewis Hamilton at the time, who was the main driver. So in terms of content and appealing to an IT audience and that kind of whole techie reach, that was quite a significant part of, I guess, the reason why the endorsement and the sponsorship has been successful.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have a fantastic collaboration with them, and having again those iconic figures of the drivers. And what's really nice actually about Lewis Hamilton is that one of the reasons why we actually partnered with Mercedes, one of the reasons, is that actually Lewis is a customer of TeamViewer. So he produces music in his spare time. That's the way he likes to relax and everything when he's on the road. So he will create the music, and then he'll share the files using TeamViewer back with his producer back in the UK, or sorry, or US, wherever he is. So we always used to get Lewis to tell that story, which again, really connects back to the audience that TeamViewer literally is for everyone. And then of course we use Toto and things like, it's given us access to big keynotes, things like Web Summit. He will come join on stage with Oliver, our CEO, which again gives us great kudos, also draws a very large audience, which is what we need. And I think with the drivers as well, it's enabled us this year to create some really nice content. And with the change of Lewis leaving the team and Kimi Antonelli joining, it's enabled us to think differently about the types of content that we could create.
And is it easy to put an ROI on that kind of investment? Obviously, everyone talks about the impact of brand, and I guess sponsorship is a key part of that now. And when you're making a significant investment like that, you've got an FD, CFO saying, well, what are we going to get back? And obviously attribution to sponsorship. But, I guess beyond just kind of the advertising, beyond the hospitality, when you're activating sponsorship beyond just a logo or a badge on a shirt or a car, we're talking about fan engagement. And I think you've learned a lot about what is true fan engagement. How do you turn it into something meaningful that really helps connect TeamViewer to your audience? Maybe you want to talk a bit about that fan engagement piece.
Yeah, absolutely. So like I say, we've been experimenting a lot this year, particularly with social, and like with Kimi joining the team, he's obviously much younger. He's a different persona to Lewis, very, very different types of people. And what's really important for us when we're thinking about content is that we need to make sure there's a number of different things. So making sure, is the content going to resonate, or does the content align with our brand values? Does it align with Mercedes brand values? Does it align with the drivers' personalities? And is it going to engage with the fans that we want to attract? I think one of the lessons that we have learned over the years is that, when we first started the partnership, it was all very much about getting our message across. It was all about TeamViewer, the technology message, and telling everyone, all about remote connectivity and support and all of the use cases and everything. And we kind of abandoned the fans a little bit. We do a little bit of fan engagement, but it was predominantly to try and satisfy our own needs, probably to go back to that ROI question.
Yeah.
But what
we've
learned,
this humanizing point of view. So get away from the speeds and feeds actually
Exactly.
engage people emotionally about stuff that's interesting to them, and then once you earn the right to talk about your product after that,
And they'll
that's the
remember,
heartland.
and they'll
Sure.
remember you. And the reality is we're actually going after a younger audience now anyway. We want, there's lots of people coming up through the ranks that we need to be engaging with in new ways. So um one of the one of the risks we took this year was to do some comedy, some humorous content, which we, I can't take any credit for it actually. It's totally down to the team, which was like, they came up with this idea. I was first of all like, not sure, does it go? I mean, we're a serious German tech brand and we haven't really dabbled into this before. Um, but we recorded it, we left it a while, we let it sink in, and we're like, let's just do it, let's just try it. What's the worst that can happen? And so we released this comedy sketches, and I do encourage you all to look at it on YouTube. It was really, really, really good. It was 4 or 5 episodes with different comedians who were trying to pitch the idea of how they would do a product launch to Kimmy and George. And they were literally genuinely laughing at the humor of these pitches from these comedians. And the comments that we got back after launching this were just incredible. Like, we want more of this. We can see the personalities of the drivers. And they couldn't wait for the next episode and everything. And it was the most successful piece of content that we'd done all year. So it just shows you that sometimes you have to get a little bit out of your comfort zone, try some new things that might not have worked before, you don't think align with your brand. And
Isn't
proved it
that the
worked.
heart of modern B2B, which is we are still fearful and driven by the conservative nature of the companies we represent, especially in the technology space, and we feel that we need to be talking about the product all the
Yeah,
time. And yet when we make a decision to move away from that and do content that is interesting first,
yeah,
actually it opens up in terms of audience engagement and things, and we need to be doing more of it. And I think, case in point, that you've experimented, it's
yeah,
worked, and it gives you the confidence to do more of that. But it's a balancing
yeah,
act, and it's a real challenge for sure. And
yeah,
you mentioned about the 95/5 rule when we were talking before
yeah.
about trying to unblock those customers who are not necessarily in market at the right time, and that, I guess, is a great example of how that's worked for you.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely that. It's you have to be thinking you're not always going to have people ready to buy when you're doing sports partnership. And this is sort of beyond content. I mean, it's even on the hospitality side, and it's coming back to that ROI. You can't always expect that immediate ROI from engaging or offering someone a really great customer experience, but hopefully they will take that away, and when they are ready to buy, you'll be on their day one list.
Yeah.
So I think definitely the understanding is shifting around how we need to communicate with our audiences, and the sales cycle is so much longer. The people that we're influencing are younger, so that's why also with the content, we're very much into experimental with TikTok and other social media platforms right now. And again, new content. First of all, when I saw some of the TikTok stuff, and I was like, but that's just my age, and I know that's how we need to be influencing and inspiring the buyers of the future. So
Yeah, yeah.
need to get
Okay,
on it.
so I want to kind of fast forward now to the last 6 to 9 months. Obviously, there's been a huge period of change for TeamViewer, and obviously we've been working together for a couple of years now. We've obviously partnered on this major global brand campaign called Make Work Work Better. But it wasn't easy. I think, we had a campaign in play. We're about to launch. TeamViewer then makes an acquisition. That kind of
Yeah,
changes the landscape.
yeah,
And we had to kind of, repivot and go again, as it were, to get this campaign in market. And it was a significant investment again, involving out of home, digital display, big thought leadership, partnership with Bloomberg, a whole suite of creative and activation elements. We launched, I think, at the Miami Grand Prix earlier, this year. But maybe just talk us through that journey as well, that kind of component.
We'll try doing the slide again.
Okay, let's go for it.
Gosh, no, my mouth.
You should be slick at this now. Come on.
I know. Let's see.
There we go.
So I mean, this is the out of home that we created, which you can see from. I don't think this one wouldn't have been Miami Airport, but it was one of the airports that we did go in, but we went into actually 10 airports globally. So as Paul mentioned, we launched the campaign in April. It was a truly integrated brand to demand campaign. Again, experimenting with different forms of media that we hadn't necessarily done before. I mean, we hadn't done, to be honest, we'd never done a huge brand campaign as such before. So it was challenging, to be honest. Like Paul said, there was a lot of internal things that had changed. There was acquisitions that had changed. We had a new product line that we didn't know, was it going to be part of the campaign? Was it not going to be part of the campaign? So it was a bit like moving a house. It got quite stressful towards the end, but we moved in the end. So it was a truly integrated campaign. So we worked with Bloomberg. We did a piece of thought leadership with them. We worked really hard on choosing the right media partner for us, because we wanted to make sure whether it resonated with our global audience across UK, US, Germany, and also at the time Japan. And we felt that had it was a very credible partner for us to work with. It was a huge lift, though. I mean, we created a significant amount of content pieces. It was an interactive piece in the end, but it really gave us that point of view that we could sort of lean the rest of the campaign onto. So the out of home went everywhere, but we also experimented with podcasts. I have to be honest that afterwards we did a brand uplift survey. We got some sort of additional data from our media agency. Podcasts didn't work for us. I'm not sure, we just didn't have the cut through or the connection from somebody listening to one of the ads through back to our landing page. So I think that was some interesting feedback. But across all of the other channels and the content that we created, we were really, really impressed with the results that we got. And you can see there, over 35% of our global target account list, we engage with content multiple times, which we then were retargeting into the use case campaigns, the demand generation side of things. So, this is absolutely incredible. And what's really, really nice about this campaign is that some of the other countries that weren't included in that sort of tier 1 banding, they then took our content, they took our creative, and they ran their own local ABM campaigns. So then the campaign then had follow through all the way to the influence pipeline and bookings. So it was absolutely fantastic to partner with Paul's team. And I think what I really liked, and I know the team really liked, was the creative ideas. And although some of the ideas we would have loved to have done, I mean, they were extremely well thought through and bold and courageous. I think there was definitely a sense of nervousness, and I think for many reasons, like I mentioned, we just done the acquisition, but I think what we ended up with was really, really compelling, because it showed the breadth of our use cases, also enabled us to maximize on the F1 partnership. And you can see there we use the line from pit lanes to supply chains, and we use that sort of rhythm across some of the other executions as well. One of them you can see on the side of our office building in Germany. So yeah, really, really pleased with how the campaign ended.
And what do you think you've learned from that, Faith? I know we chatted about,
Yeah.
holding firm on your positioning, standing your ground, taking risks, failing fast. What would be the kind of maybe 4 or 5 things that, you'd look back on and go, if I was giving advice to anybody on this podcast, this webinar, what that would be?
I think before going to an agency, I would definitely nail the brief. I think having a really tight brief that has been internally aligned first is absolutely critical, and that in our case that means going all the way up to the CEO. It's such a significant amount of budget that if you don't get your brief right before going to an agency, you're going to waste a lot of time further down the line. So I think that's probably our biggest learning. I think making sure you've got the right agency is really important. So making sure that the agency really understands your business, your drivers, your pain points, the industry. Have they got the right skills that you need for the campaign? Do you want to lean much more into the creative, or is it the content, storytelling, the demand generation piece, or is it, you want the whole lot? So I think being very specific and clear. And I think just for us, it wasn't just the brand and campaign team that needed to be brought into this. It's so much bigger across the organization, and I think we couldn't really underestimate, even to sales, how you brief sales and enable sales partners. Even we were briefing partners on this, PR, comms, digital, field marketing. The whole company got behind this, and I think that's one of the great things about TeamViewer actually, is when people are really bought into the idea, the whole company drives it. So complete takeover of social media, and really supportive. And people still talk about make work better now. It's such a great brand positioning that I think still has legs to move on to another year.
Yeah, it's great. And would you recommend any creative agencies out there that would be good at doing
that? There might be one with a bird in the name.
Bird Rockstar, yeah. So just on that, obviously, when we chatted prior to this, we talked about the risk sometimes of staying stationary as a brand and not actually leaning in the moment to take those moves. I think TeamViewer is a great example of actually momentum, keep moving forward, doing things. And I think this campaign was significant in that respect. You talked about the brief at the beginning, but when you make an acquisition, like literally 3 weeks before you're about to go live with a campaign, that brief just gets ripped up because all of a sudden you've got a completely new product line, new leadership in place, and just the challenges of merger and integration. And it was an absolute storm to try and navigate through, and you did a great job. And I think looking back, what we're most proud of is how we just all got together and just got on with that curveball, as you were.
Yeah, I mean, it was tough, like you say, an acquisition, new product line, there was new leadership, so almost we were having to rebrief the campaign back in after it had all been signed off and approved. And obviously, Paul, you were involved in that process because it literally needed to go back up to the top. But yeah, I totally agree. I think the partnership and the collaboration between my team and your agency team was great. And I mean, it was a bit of a tough pill to swallow for a little bit because it did take a change in direction. But I think once that settled, it was like, right, we're all in now. We're just going to get this done, and we're going to make it a success, and we'll do whatever it takes. So good collaboration.
Okay, so now I want to talk about a bit of a passion project of yours, Faith. So I know that through the TeamViewer relationship, specifically with F1, you've been able to look at how TeamViewer goes about developing the next generation of women drivers, engineers, leaders in motorsport, particularly with the She Sport Tech partnership. Could you maybe just tell us a little bit about what inspired that initiative and what you're hoping to get out of it, and some of the stories maybe that you've seen play out from that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've always been a massive, passionate advocate for women in IT, and not just women, but girls as well. I'm a mentor of a school, a nearby school, who helps underprivileged girls who don't have mentors or role models in their life. So I, meet with the program on a regular basis to try and give them some guidance. And when I came into TeamViewer, we were doing a lot of fantastic initiatives. So we were working with students and universities, and we were doing robot competitions and all kinds of things, and that were influencing girls. But I was thinking, okay, we've got these huge sports partnerships here. We have Manchester United women's team who perform really, really well. We're not even really activating the women's matches for some reason. And then, from a Mercedes perspective, it was incredibly male dominated. And, there was a few standout engineers and people that worked there, but still, I felt like no brand was really elevating the women who are working at those clubs in technology roles. And I felt that we had a platform as a technology company that we could actually bring technology, the sports partnerships together to create a program for women who want to get into sports technology. And so She Sport Tech was created, which is a program to offer grants to 5 women to help them either further their studies or their career. Or one woman, actually, I think she lived in Kenya, and she just wanted a laptop because she was running the local sports community, and she just wanted to engage and be able to communicate. And so we offer the grants to the women, and actually one of those women has gone off to fulfill a sports technology career, which is absolutely fantastic. So we did that, and then I was like, we need to do more. We need some data. We need some insight. Like, what really is the problem? So we partnered with Loughborough University, who I'm sure everyone knows, very specialised in sports. And we did a study with about 120 women who were working in sports technology roles to understand a little bit more about what's holding them back. And we found some, absolutely alarming, but maybe not surprising statistics about, 86% of women felt like, they were quite underrepresentative. They wanted role models, they wanted mentors, they needed to be part of a community. People were adopting male behaviours just to fit into the workplace, which is incredible. I think women were feeling under pressure to go back after having a child, because of the such male dominating industry that they felt they were going to be left behind. And these stats were, something we just wanted to talk about. And at the same time as doing the research, Susie Wolf launched the F1 Academy, which is absolutely fantastic racing series for women to really give them that platform to get into F1. And I saw it and I was like, I want to be a part of I want to be a part of that.
I want to be Susie's best friend.
So we had a few conversations with Susie, and obviously we had that connection from Mercedes as well. And I just thought, how are we going to sell this internally? It really works well, again, with the sports and the technology and everything. And the brilliant thing is I really didn't have to sell it in. We have really supportive support from my then boss, and the CEO as well was like, yeah, that's great. This is a really good sporting platform that we can be associated with. It's driving a good cause. And so a partnership was done last year. We've had our first year of being the first technology partner of F1 Academy, which we're super proud of. And actually, I was gonna, okay, let's try for the third time, where I'm just going to show you some.
You must have nailed it by now. Come on. Yeah. So Faith,
I
while
said,
you're talking about that, in terms of budget line, does an initiative like this come out of a CSR kind of budget? Does it come out of a marketing budget? Is there no budget for it and it just kind of gets allocated? How did you fight for whatever budget came from this?
first of all, can you see what I'm sharing?
No.
Okay. Let me share. Go here. You see?
Okay, yeah, we're good. Yeah.
The truth is there was no budget, and it had to come from the marketing budget. And I remember being in a difficult meeting in Munich with my marketing peers, and pitching them the idea of, okay, so as well as Mercedes and Manchester United, this is really an opportunity for good cause of trying to be at the front and center as the technology partner in F1 Academy. And I think there was a little bit of resistance first of all, but I think they would all agree, hopefully they would all agree, over the last year we've really proved the value of the F1 Academy, because we have had incredible access to Susie. We've been able to create some exceptional content, which I will share with you now. So as part of our sponsorship deal, we have a wild card, which is giving us the ability to brand a race car, a car that they drive, for one race. So this was in Zandvoort, and this was with our driver Esme. And so it gave us the opportunity to take over the overalls and take over the car. And what you'll see on the car, well, first of all, the 86%, which came from our survey, but really importantly, the whole campaign was around visibility drives change, which was the theme from the survey. And we showcased role models onto the car of people that had been either nominated themselves or nominated by someone else. And this was incredible, because we got, as much as it is for good cause and the visibility that we got, but the great heartwarming thing is that the women were so proud to be part of this.
Mm-hmm.
We invited some of them to the event. They saw their faces on the car. They were tagging themselves. They were tagging TeamViewer, F1 Academy, and exponentially this campaign, got so much reach behind it. And compared to some of the other sponsors who also have wild cards, and invested a lot more money than we did, we got way more reach than others and engagement. So just shows you can do like initiatives like this, again, bold ideas, but with great impact.
I think it just shows, when you maybe take on board a big global property sponsorship contract, you might see it for one thing, but as you get into the weeds of it all, new opportunities springboard, new relationships, and you can start to see the value in, as you've seen this thing with Susie Wolf as well. Okay, I know we've kind of got the last 15 minutes or so, and we've not mentioned the word AI yet. So now I'm going to throw in the killer question, which is, you, like every other marketing leader, has probably been challenged over the last 18 months, trying to reimagine, reinvent, find the best ways to use AI in your business, within your marketing. As a leader who is obviously keen to build their team and maintain that, what things have you been doing? What have your team been up to in the last kind of 12 months?
Yeah, well, any marketing leader that's not doing AI should not be a marketing leader. I know that's a bold thing to say. What we've been doing at TeamViewer is we've been enabling the whole of the marketing organization. We created a program called Accelerate probably about 18 months to 2 years ago, which was really to enable all of the marketing organization to be able to start at zero, and learn how to prompt, learn how to use the tools, learn how to use the features, and learn how to use it safely as well, you know, not uploading all of your company's data into a platform without knowing, you know, exactly what you should not be doing. So we started off with that program last year, and then what we've done sort of since then is done a follow-up program, but we've done a lot of different, you know, small pilots within the marketing organization. And, you know, it's been absolutely wonderful to see the innovation bloom and grow from everything like, you know, using it for events, using it for creating personas, taking some of the customer insights and data that we've got and running it through AI, creating custom chat GPTs, using it for SEO. I mean, I think every single person I speak to is using it in some capacity or not. So I've been really, you know, championing that change and giving people the courage to use that. I'm like, why don't you just use ChatGPT? I think in the beginning there was quite a lot of resistance to using it, or if you were using it, it was like it was a bit of a dirty secret. And you know, I definitely would find people while hiding it, and I was like, I don't mind if you're using it, but as long as you're not just giving me a whole long script of written words, but you're actually applying it in the right way. So yeah, we've been seeing how we can optimize processes, making people more efficient by using it. And yeah, like I said, the use cases have just been growing.
And I mean, obviously, as an agency, we're often on the receiving end of, you know, some of this innovation that's happening within a client side marketing environment. Have you created any rules, any policies, any governance about some of the tools? I'll give you an example. So we're seeing more and more now where clients are not even sending us a brief. They're sending us a kind of a stream of consciousness that's been generated in ChatGPT and literally copied and pasted into a brief and saying, can you work with that? And it's like, okay, appreciate there's some strategic thinking that's gone in there and there's some territories, but that's not a brief. Do you know what I mean? There's no rigor being applied to it. And it's like we're in this kind of, I wouldn't say a wild west, but we're all trying to learn how to use these tools to be more predictive and efficient. And it's, you know, it's not easy. There's lots of bumps in the roads. What's your process or way of thinking to kind of avoid some of that, you know, AI slop or whatever you might want to call it?
Yeah, I mean, I think for internal use and just between us, like if we want to run ideas through ChatGPT just to debate it, that's fine. But you know, I would never send a brief to an agency that was just literally not even, you know, detailed and screened with detail. You know, that's just not acceptable. I believe we do have some, I think the brand team may have created some AI policies around, you know, we're starting to see things creep up on social when it's not quite the brand colors, it's not quite in our brand design. And, you know, someone's just quickly done something because they haven't gone through the processes of creating a ticket. So I think that's definitely starting to seep through. But we're trying to tackle it on its head that people want to be much quicker and more reactive. So how can we create more templates or Canva templates that they can then just use themselves rather than, you know, leaning into AI a little bit too much to create something that hasn't had thought. But, you know, I see the guidance and guidelines becoming more and more of an increasing need.
Yeah. And Faith, just a little while ago, you were recognized as a Hot Topics Future CMO, which is a fantastic accolade. And in this new era of AI and data and creativity and storytelling and the need to, you know, balance a bit of showmanship with salesmanship in B2B, what do you think of these new skills that marketing leaders need to embrace to be successful moving forward?
I think it's challenging for marketing, and I was actually reading a post on LinkedIn last night about, you know, marketing leaders and CMOs. They need to be skilled in so many things now. Not, I mean, AI is just one thing, but just so many other different disciplines and everything. So I think, you know, there is a lot. For me, what's really important is the whole customer centricity. So really understanding your customers and the buying behaviors, and the triggers and the insights and the data, and how does that relate back to all of the commercials. So I think being very much commercial, data driven, very much customer centric, and then just all of the other things on other long lists on top of that. And it's just how you prioritize and continuously learn. So for me, I am continuously learning. I try to listen to 1 or 2 podcasts a week, spend probably a bit too much time on LinkedIn, just scrolling, just seeing what other brands and people are doing. I invest into my learning, so I do Pavilion. I try and listen to some of their webinars frequently. I go to a lot of events. So it's just, and communities as well. So I think it's just, it's a real balancing act, but you need to be, things are moving so fast all of the time. You can't sit still. You have to keep learning.
And do you feel that in this moment of change, and obviously, you could make the case as an existential crisis going on within marketing and the value of marketing, the role of marketing, that there is a sense of community for marketing leaders at the moment to want to try and get this right, to kind of collaborate more and, figure it out together at this unique time. Do you feel that's true? Do you have any mentors? Do you find a little, cohort of people you can pick up the phone or email or, go and have a glass of wine with and talk about this kind of stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have agency partners that, even if you're not working on a current brief, it's always great to stay in touch with agencies. I have a lot of ex-employees that, always pick up the phone, and they do the same to me as well. And like I said, that there's a few communities that I'm part of that I really value that opinion and perspective from as well. People like to learn from people, and I think again it comes back to your human. It's like that human touch, that human engagement.
Yeah, I think it's true. I think in the past 18 months that there has been a line drawn in the sand. This word human has been used more than ever. It seems to be that every brand is trying to figure out, what can AI and technology and automation do best, and what can we as human beings do best. And we're getting into that world of connection. More people now turning up at live events to want to meet real thought leaders, see that vulnerability on stage. And it's not just the perfect piece of digital content sent at the perfect time, etc. There's a balance now between how buyers actually want to connect with real people. And I think that's changing.
Well, that's one thing AI can't replace.
Exactly.
We were having discussed. I can't remember who I was talking to, but I was thinking about like AI and what jobs are going to be available in 10 years time. I mean, things like events and meeting people in person is just going to become even more important. People are going to crave that human connection. That's just not something that machine learning or AI can take away.
No, and I think that hand in hand with the value of personal brand and leadership, getting away from behind their desk and finding those key employees and employee thought leadership and stepping into the real world and finding those moments where they can impact the sales cycle, whether it's a 3-month or a 2-year sales cycle, is going to become increasingly important. Are there any brands that you look at out there in the B2B world that you think, you know what, they're nailing it, or they seem to have got something special, a bit of magic happening?
There's one that brings to mind that I keep sending to my team, and that's Perk.
Okay.
So I absolutely love what Travel Perk just rebranded to Perk. They changed their identity, they changed their colour, and then yesterday they launched that they are now going to be a partner of the new Audi F1 team. And I read an interview with Jada, the CMO, and she said that they actually announced to their whole whole company about the rebrand, and I think maybe about the F1 partnership, but I can't remember exactly. And they kept it quiet for so long, but they are now so proud and excited that they are now being their advocates and ambassadors and talking to everyone about it. And they felt, really privileged to hold that information. But, how they rebranded that company in such a short amount of time and now gone into this fantastic sports partnership. I'm just like, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. I think, again, it's a great example. I look at Workday as someone similar over the past couple of years where they're really pursuing fame as a strategy, not just sales. They're doing the kind of things that actually make you the most popular brand in your category, and stepping into the moment, like doing a Super Bowl advert, or as you say, doing a rebrand, but doing such intensity, and the sponsorship that goes along with that with Audi is really where I think more and more brands are going that way, because they now have the confidence, because they've seen other brands do it. It's not just such a big risk. And I think mindset is hugely important, from the leadership down, to make those kind of changes.
It goes back to being brave and courageous and taking risks. And, you're not going to get ahead by just, standing still and just being like every other brand. You have to differentiate yourself. You have to be, you have to be bold.
I think it's true, because growth isn't binary. It's deeply human at the end of the day. We are ultimately selling to human beings. And although commercial leaders would like every pound spent to equal, 10 pounds gained, it's not as easy as that in terms of the mechanics of how to, build a global brand. You have to fight for creativity. You've got to keep championing ideas that probably scare you a little bit. Keep telling those stories that people care about, and pushing yourself and those around you to be braver and bolder. And, that's hard. And in this era of AI and humanity and authenticity, I think that's our greatest advantage. And before we wrap up, Faith, I've got a little quiz for you. I don't think this is coming. And it is basically, it's a lightning round. I've got 10 questions for you. And all you've got to say, is it a bold idea or a bad idea?
Bold or bad?
Bold or bad. That's the kind of game, okay? So putting your logo on an F1 car, bold or bad?
Bold.
Okay. Using humor in B2B, bold or bad?
Bold.
Okay. Letting AI write the first draft of every content asset?
Bad.
Okay. Renaming the marketing team the Growth Studio?
Bad.
Okay. Using TikTok for enterprise IT buyers?
Bold.
Okay. Launching a major B2B campaign with zero product messaging?
Bad.
Okay. Sponsoring a major sport event even when half the organization don't get why you're doing it?
Bold.
Okay. Trusting LLMs to do everything from strategy to creative?
Bad.
Okay. Doing a Super Bowl advert?
Bold.
Okay. Talking to your CFO using every marketing buzzword you can possibly imagine to get budget signed off?
Terribly bad.
Terribly bad. Okay, we did pretty well on that. So I think we've got a wrap on that. I think, obviously, thank you, Faith, for obviously being part of this, and for everybody who stayed online. This will be on demand afterwards, so we'll find a place to host it. But I don't think there's any questions come through. If anybody's got anything, we've got 1 minute, maybe 2 minutes. If there's a question, there's 13 people left on the call. 12, they're all disappearing pretty quick now. Okay, so Faith, thanks very much again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you to everybody, and enjoy the rest of your day or your evening.
Thank you.